I still remember the biting early winter cold of Chicago when the Uber pulled up in front of the 3-story red brick house in Evanston, just north of the city. Thanksgiving lights were already glowing down the block, plastic pumpkins grinning like idiots, wreaths hanging on every door, and the smell of roasted turkey mixed with cinnamon from pumpkin pie drifting through the air. It was the last Thursday in November, the day every American family pretends to be perfect for a few hours. I, Emily Harper, 32, had been out of the hospital exactly 10 days after a mild heart attack, the result of too many nights sleeping at the office of the landscape architecture firm Sophie and I had built together. My left hand still trembled slightly whenever I held a wine glass, but I'd put on my nicest camel wool dress so no one would notice I was still on beta blockers. Sophie, my sister, had flown in from New York that morning. She's 35, an elementary school teacher, single mom to a 4-year-old named Noah. Her divorce had just finalized over the summer, and I knew she was forcing her brightest smile so she wouldn't ruin Thanksgiving. Dad, John Harper, 65, former CEO of a commercial real estate company, was out back at the grill, proudly showing off a 24-pound organic, free-range turkey he'd ordered from a farm in Wisconsin. Mom, Mary, was bustling around the kitchen in her maple leaf apron. And Grandpa Henry, the 90-year-old man who'd built this whole fortune with nothing but 2 bare hands and a soybean field up in northern Wisconsin, was sitting silently at the head of the table, his pale blue eyes still sharp as knives even if his body had withered inside an old suit. I thought this was going to be a day to give thanks, for still being alive, for Sophie coming home, for finally having a family meal where nobody mentioned money. I was wrong. After everyone raised their glasses of cranberry juice, I was only allowed water because of the meds, Dad lightly tapped his glass and flashed the smile I'd seen him use when closing million-dollar deals. Mary and I have a special announcement this Thanksgiving, he began, his voice warm like a boardroom keynote. We all know the Harper family was built on sharing and supporting each other. So, after careful discussion with our attorney and financial advisor, we've decided to update the will and the family trust. Mom put her hand on his shoulder and beamed. My stomach twisted. We're moving the bulk of the liquid assets, stocks, retirement accounts, and ownership of the Wisconsin farm into a new trust dedicated exclusively to Amanda's 3 kids. They're still young, and Amanda's raising them alone after the divorce. We believe this is the best way to secure the next generation. Sophie dropped her fork. The metallic clatter against the china rang out in the sudden silence. I heard blood rushing in my ears. What exactly do you mean? I whispered, though I already understood every word. Mom answered for him, gentle as if she were offering another slice of pie. Emily, Sophie, you girls are so successful. Emily has her own company in Chicago. Sophie has a stable teaching career in New York. You don't need it the way your cousins do. Sophie let out a laugh, dry, almost hysterical. So, because we're independent, you're cutting us out completely and giving everything to Amanda's kids, the ones whose mom posted Maui pics last week? Dad frowned. Those were old photos. Amanda is genuinely struggling financially. I looked at Grandpa Henry. He was silent, but I saw his knuckles go white around the knife and fork. I remembered summers at the Wisconsin farm, where Grandpa taught Sophie and me how to plant soybeans, how to fix fences, how to believe that if you worked hard enough, America would give you a fair shot. I remembered the day he sat me down at 16 and showed me the first copy of his will. This is yours and Sophie's. Nobody touches it, because you two are the ones who'll carry on my dream. The American dream? I'd traded my health for, my sleep for, my heart attack at 32 for. And now, just because Sophie and I hadn't had kids at the right time, hadn't gotten divorced at the right time, hadn't complained at the right time, we were being disinherited. I set my water glass down, hands still shaking. So you're choosing Amanda because she has kids and we don't count as family in your eyes? Mom sighed, looking at me like I was a toddler throwing a tantrum. Emily, don't put it like that. This is for the children. Sophie shot to her feet, chair crashing backward. The children? Amanda's kids go to a $40,000 a year private school. My son can't even afford after-school care. The air in the room felt sucked dry of oxygen. I looked at Grandpa again. His eyes were locked on Dad. The same look I'd only seen once, the day he discovered a business partner stealing from him in 1978. Then Grandpa Henry, in a voice that still boomed like thunder despite his 90 years, spoke slowly, each word landing like a hammer on the oak table. Who are you robbing? The entire room went dead silent. Sophie and I looked at each other. We knew in that moment this Thanksgiving was no longer about giving thanks. It was about fighting. Sophie sank back into her chair, face flushed like the autumn maples in Lincoln Park. I stayed standing, gripping the table's edge, trying to keep my heart from racing past what the beta blockers could handle. Grandpa Henry's shout still echoed in my head. Who are you robbing? It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. Dad was the first to break the silence. He cleared his throat the way he did in board meetings instead of family dinners. Dad, calm down. This is just a rational decision. We're talking about the future of the grandchildren. Amanda and the kids need support. Emily and Sophie, they're established. That's the American family value we always taught, helping those less fortunate. Sophie barked a laugh that sounded like breaking glass. American family value? You mean robbing the hard-working to feed the lazy? Because that's exactly what you're doing. Mom looked at Sophie, eyes shining with tears. I saw her hesitate, the same hesitation I'd known since childhood, when she tried to balance love and fairness. She told us how, after Dad's heart surgery 3 years ago, Sophie had quit her job in New York for 2 months to take care of him, cooking, driving him to appointments, even arranging consults with the top cardiologist at Northwestern Memorial. And me? I'd spent 3 straight summers managing the Wisconsin farm for free, fixing fences, redesigning the irrigation system, turning Grandpa's land into a small retreat without taking a dime. We were established, but established didn't mean we didn't deserve recognition. How exactly is Amanda struggling? I cut in, calmer than Sophie, but just as furious. She drives a leased Escalade, posted Hawaii pics 2 weeks ago. Her 3 kids go to private school in the suburbs, tens of thousands a year. Meanwhile, I just got out of the hospital for working 80-hour weeks to build my company. I'm off work 6 months, no salary, draining savings for medical bills. That's the independence you're praising? Dad shook his head, still wearing his professional smile. Emily, don't judge by appearances. Amanda explained everything. The ex left her with debt. She keeps up appearances so the kids don't feel inferior. It's about family. It takes a village, like Hillary Clinton said. We're that village. You two don't have kids, so you don't understand the pressure of raising the next generation. Sophie slammed the table, cranberry juice sloshing. Don't have kids? I have Noah, your grandson. But because I'm divorced, I don't qualify for help? I'm raising him alone in New York. Rent eats half my teacher salary. Meanwhile, Amanda hasn't held a real job longer than 6 months. She borrowed $3,000 from me for business investment. Turns out it was a Palm Springs spa trip. Never paid back a cent. Mom bit her lip, staring at the cold turkey. I saw her struggling. She'd always been soft-hearted, remembered every sacrifice. She'd cried when Sophie flew home to care for Dad, calling her my hero. She used to hug me when I came back from the farm covered in Wisconsin dust, whispering, "You're my pride." But now she just murmured, "Amanda, she's like another daughter. She calls every week, sends cards. You girls are so busy you hardly keep in touch." So we lose our inheritance because we don't send enough Hallmark cards? I asked, voice bitter. You're punishing us for chasing the American dream, working our asses off, building our own lives. Amanda gets rewarded for having babies and whining? Grandpa Henry stayed quiet, but I saw him give Sophie the tiniest nod. His eyes blazed like the fire in the hearth, fire that had built the Harper Empire from a tiny post-World War II farm. Dad raised a hand, tone stern. The decision is final. Papers were drawn last week. We sign next week. This is for the greater good, the extended family. You two will still get the antique collection and a small cash amount, enough to live comfortably. Sophie gave a hollow laugh. Comfortably? With my sister's medical bills and Noah's tuition? You're turning us into Peter in robbing Peter to pay Paul, stealing from us to bail out Amanda, who you think is less fortunate. But really, she's a predator feeding on your kindness. Mom looked at Sophie, tears rolling down. Sophie, don't say that. I know you've both sacrificed so much, but Amanda needs help. I can't bear to see those grandchildren suffer. Grandchildren, I repeated. Noah is your grandchild too, but I guess because I'm not the perfect single mom like Amanda, he doesn't count. The tension was a wire about to snap. I felt my heart racing, the monitor in my pocket beeping softly. Sophie grabbed my hand under the table, whispering, "We're not letting this happen." And then, as if Grandpa Henry had been waiting for exactly the right moment, he spoke again, low but commanding. "John, you think you own it all yet. I'm still breathing." Dad went pale. We all knew the real climax was only just beginning. The doorbell rang at the exact moment the air in the dining room had turned to wire. Mom wiped her eyes quickly and stood with the strained hostess smile I'd seen her use when uninvited guests showed up at the country club. Dad adjusted his tie like he was about to walk into a fundraiser. Sophie and I exchanged a look. Both of us knew whoever was about to walk in would turn tonight from disaster to catastrophe. The door opened. Amanda Harper Miller swept in like a Versace tornado in a Chicago winter. She was 40, but looked 32, thanks to Botox and a personal trainer. Camel silk jumpsuit, red-soled Louboutins, blonde hair blown out at the most expensive salon in Naperville. In one hand a bottle of Dom Perignon vintage, in the other an orange Hermès bag, definitely not from the outlet. "Happy Thanksgiving, darlings," Amanda trilled, air-kissing Mom and giving Dad a theatrical hug. She deliberately ignored Sophie and me for the first 3 seconds, as if we were waitstaff. Then she turned, flashing the smile I'd seen on Desperate Housewives reality shows. "Emily, heard about your heart thing? You look pale. I have a yoga trainer in Scottsdale. Amazing. Sophie, how's little Noah? Still crying every night because he misses Daddy?" Sophie stiffened. I felt her fist clench under the table. Amanda set the champagne down and pulled a box of La Jurée macarons from the Hermès bag, the $85 for 24 kind. "For the family." "I flew straight in from Palm Springs, so I'm a little late. Sorry, everyone." Mom lit up like a Christmas tree. "You didn't have to bring anything so expensive, honey." "Oh, just a little something," Amanda shrugged, sliding into the chair right beside Grandpa Henry without even greeting him. She pulled out her phone, scrolling like she was checking sports bets. I caught a glimpse. DraftKings app, account balance glowing red. Sophie couldn't take it anymore. "Amanda, you were in Palm Springs last week, posted Hawaii the week before, and now you're buying Mom a Birkin? How exactly is that financial hardship?" Amanda gave a tinkling laugh, the same one she'd used in high school when she bullied Sophie for wearing secondhand clothes. "Sophie, still bitter? I'm just trying to keep up appearances for the kids. Private schools don't accept Target wardrobes." She turned to my parents, voice syrupy. Actually, I timed it perfectly. Uncle John, Aunt Mary, I heard about your wonderful plan. I'm so touched. The kids will have such bright futures because of you. Then she looked straight at Sophie and me, eyes fake shiny. Emily, Sophie, I know you two are strong, successful, don't need help. Me, I'm just a single mom trying to survive in this judgmental world. Instagram, schools, the other moms, everyone judges. I've had to take on credit card debt just to keep the kids from being ashamed. You wouldn't understand. I couldn't help laughing. Keep up appearances? You borrowed $5,000 from me in 2019 for school uniforms and spent it on a Sedona spa. Now you want my grandfather's entire Wisconsin farm to keep funding that appearance? Amanda shrugged. Zero shame. Oh, that tired old farm. I already have ideas. Turn it into a boutique resort, glamping chic. Chicagoans will flock up on weekends. I have a designer friend in LA who'll redo everything. Uncle John, when do I get the keys? The whole table erupted in laughter. My parents loudest. Mom even clapped. What a great idea. That farm hasn't been properly cared for in years. Sophie stood so fast her chair toppled. That's where Grandpa built everything from nothing, where Emily and I grew up. You have no right. Amanda cut her off, voice low and venomous. Sophie, don't play saint. I know everything. Uncle John told me about the baby you got rid of senior year of college. You think you're better than me because you didn't keep it? The room went airless. Sophie went white. I saw her tremble, eyes filling. It was the secret only the closest family knew, something that happened when she was 21 with a boyfriend who betrayed her. My parents had sworn never to speak of it again. Mom stammered, Amanda, that's not. Amanda smirked, looking at Dad. Uncle John said that's exactly why he feels for me more, because I kept all three of mine, even alone. Sophie chose career over motherhood, so he wants to make it up to the kids who actually need it. I felt rage boil over. So that was the real reason, not just Amanda's flattery. My father, the man obsessed with traditional American family, had never forgiven Sophie for that choice years ago. Amanda had weaponized an old wound. Grandpa Henry suddenly slammed his silver spoon down like a gunshot. His eyes burned into Amanda, then Dad. Enough, he said, voice rasping but authoritative. I want to hear it from your own mouth, John. You're really robbing my granddaughters to give to this spoiled brat? Amanda gave a snort, but I saw her hand shake holding her glass. The mask was cracking, and tonight it was going to shatter. The silver spoon had barely hit the oak table when the whole room felt strangled. No more fake laughter, no more clinking silverware, just the November wind howling against the big windows overlooking distant Lake Michigan. Grandpa stood slowly, his thin legs trembling inside the old gray suit, but his back straight as the pines on the Wisconsin farm. He was 90, but in that moment, he was the 19-year-old soldier who'd come home from Normandy in 1945, the man who'd carried an M1 Garand into hell and then carried a shovel to plant soybeans on the 40 acres the government gave returning vets. He was the living embodiment of bootstrapping Americans love to brag about. Nothing but 2 bare hands, a GI Bill loan, and iron belief that if you worked hard enough, this country would give you a fair shot. He braced both hands on the table, pale blue eyes blazing. He lifted his walnut walking stick, the one he'd carved himself from a lightning-struck tree on the farm, and brought it down hard on the floor. The crack echoed like a duck-hunting shotgun in autumn Wisconsin. Who are you robbing? His voice wasn't raspy or weak. It was the roar of a man who'd once shouted orders through falling bombs, who'd shouted down a banker in 1958, who'd shouted down a thieving partner in 1973. My father, John Harper, 65, proud, self-made man, went chalk white, mouth opening but no sound coming out. Grandpa pointed the stick straight at Dad's nose, inches away. You tell me, John. I'm asking one last time. Who are you robbing? Then he swung the stick toward Amanda, eyes like a razor. My 2 granddaughters, one who just got out of the hospital for working herself to death building a company right here in this city, the other raising a child alone in New York without a single complaint. Or are you stealing from them to pay this brat's football bets? Amanda stammered, wine sloshing. Grandpa, you've misunderstood. Shut your mouth, Grandpa roared, loud enough to rattle the family photos on the wall. I'm old, not senile. I remember every brick I laid myself on that farm you just opened your mouth to turn into a boutique resort. I remember every drop of sweat hauling soybeans to the truck to pay the bank in 1963. I remember the day I wrote the first will in 1985. I wrote it clear. The bulk goes to Emily and Sophie because they're the ones who work, who still believe what America taught me. Work hard and you get rewarded. He turned back to Dad, voice lower but sharper. John, you're my son. I gave you CEO, gave you trustee power because I thought you understood. But now you're using that same trust to rob Emily, the girl who spent 3 summers fixing fences and redesigning irrigation in Wisconsin for free? Rob Sophie, who quit her job to take care of you when you had heart surgery in 2020? Dad tried to speak. Dad, you don't understand. This is for the grandkids. Which grandkids? Grandpa thundered. Noah, the only grandchild carrying the Harper name, is in public school in Brooklyn because his mother can't afford private. But you pick Amanda's 3 because their mother knows how to cry and post sad Facebook statuses? Sophie started sobbing. I squeezed her hand under the table, tears rolling down my own face, not from sadness, but pride. Grandpa was still here. He was still the man who taught us nobody gets to steal someone else's sweat in this country, not even family. Grandpa sat down, breathing hard, but eyes still blazing. He looked at Sophie and me, voice softening but firm as Michigan limestone. Emily, Sophie, stand up. Come with me. Then he looked at Dad one last time, voice cold as November wind over harvested soybean fields. John, you don't own anything yet. I'm still alive. And as long as I'm breathing, not 1 penny of this fortune leaves the hands of the granddaughters who sweated for it. He thumped his cane and walked out, each step deliberate. Sophie and I jumped up, not looking at our parents, not looking at Amanda. We just followed the silhouette of the man who'd walked out of war with nothing and was still standing, defending justice the only way a WW2 vet knows how. The cane tapped down the hallway like war drums. And we knew the real fight had only just begun. We followed Grandpa Henry down the long hallway lined with family photos. Grandpa in his WW2 uniform, Grandpa with a hoe in the Wisconsin field in 1952, Grandpa holding newborn granddaughters under the ancient oak at the farm. The walnut cane tapped evenly on the hardwood like a battle cadence. Sophie gripped my hand, tears still falling, but eyes shining with the fire I'd only ever seen when she defended a bullied kid in her classroom. He stopped at the heavy mahogany door, the study we'd only been allowed in as kids on Christmas or when we were in serious trouble. He turned the old brass knob and pushed it open. The smell of leather, pipe tobacco, and Wisconsin pine hit us like memory. Grandpa pointed to the 2 deep green leather chairs in front of the walnut desk. Sit. Sophie and I sat like obedient 10-year-olds who'd once been summoned here to hear the No Free Lunch in America lecture. He thumped over to the wall behind the desk and nudged a panel, revealing a small wall safe, the kind you see in 1940s noir films. He looked at Sophie, voice gentle. "Your birthday, big girl." Sophie whispered, 03-18-1989. He nodded and spun the mechanical dial. Click, click, click. The safe opened. Inside weren't cash or gold, just 3 thick folders bound in red, blue, and black cord, like documents from before computers. He pulled the red one and set it in front of us. This is the original Harper Family Revocable Living Trust, created 1995, last amended 2018. I'm the grantor, still alive, still competent. John is only successor trustee, takes over when I die or a court declares me incapacitated. And as you just saw, I can still slam a cane hard enough to wake the dead. He opened the folder and flipped to the page with his green ink signature. Beneath it, underlined in red, Emily Rose Harper and Sophia Grace Harper, successor co-trustees. I set this up in 2018 when I saw Amanda start clinging to your mother. If John ever acts against the best interests of the primary beneficiaries, you too, control automatically shifts to you. No court, no doctor signing dementia papers, just my breath in my lungs. My heart pounded, not from illness, but from seeing light at the end of the tunnel for the first time. Grandpa took a small silver key from his vest pocket, engraved with a pine tree pattern, the farm symbol, and placed it in my hand. Safe deposit box at First National Bank, Evanston Branch, Box 412. Inside is the fully notarized original trust and a handwritten letter I wrote in 2021. If John ever tries to force me to sign anything, you take that letter out. It's enough to sue for elder financial abuse under Illinois law, and win. Sophie was already pulling her mini iPad from her bag, fingers flying like when she wrote lesson plans. Recording everything, box number, bank, key clauses. We need our own lawyer, not Thompson, who's on Dad's payroll. I have a friend from Northwestern Law, specializes in elder law and trust litigation. I nodded, brain shifting into the same gear I used designing 50-acre parks. I'll call Jessica, dorm mate from undergrad, now a forensic accountant in Chicago. She can pull every transaction Amanda's ever made in 48 hours. Grandpa smiled, the first smile of the night, the smile of a man who'd won Normandy and bigger battles after. I knew you two would know what to do. I raised you for this, didn't I? He pointed out the window toward the snowy fields of Wisconsin in memory. Remember when you were 12, Emily? I made you fix that broken fence for 3 straight days. Sophie sat beside you reading, but still had to count every nail. I told you, in America, nobody gives you anything. You want to keep the land, you sweat for it. I'm not letting John and that Amanda girl steal your sweat. Sophie put her hand on his, voice breaking. You're still strong, Grandpa. Nobody's declaring you incompetent. He nodded, eyes twinkling with the mischief of a 90-year-old who could still whip an army. Good. Now listen. Step 1, get the original from the bank tomorrow morning. Step 2, hire a shark lawyer. Step 3, he paused, looking us dead in the eye. Find the black hole Amanda's throwing money into. Because nobody gets this desperate unless they're running from something bigger. He placed his gnarled hand over ours, the hand that had held a rifle, a plow, a pen signing millions, now warm and steady. Fight, my girls. This is the country of people who stand up, and Harpers don't kneel. Outside, the Chicago wind still howled, but in that study, for the first time that night, we felt warm, because we weren't alone anymore. We had Grandpa, and we had each other. The next morning, Thanksgiving was over, but the house still felt heavy as the first real snow of the season. Sophie and I left the hotel early and never went back to our parents' house. We knew if we did, Amanda would play the threatened card. Instead, we sat in a Starbucks near the First National Bank in Evanston, Sophie on her iPad, me on my phone, starting the hunt. I called Jessica, my Northwestern dorm mate, now a forensic accountant at a big firm in Manhattan. Jessica is peak modern American woman, lives fast, works fast, uses tech like an extra limb. She'd once helped me dig up property records when I bought my first office in the Loop. Emily, long time. Why do you sound like you just ran a marathon? Jessica laughed, New York traffic in the background. Jess, we need help fast. Involves our cousin Amanda Harper Miller. She's trying to steal our inheritance. Pull anything public. Divorce records, finances, red flags. Sophie leaned into speaker. And Jess, use the apps. We don't have time to go page by page at the courthouse. Jessica snorted. You think I'm a 1980s accountant? I've got Pacer, Federal Court Electronic Records. State stuff? LexisNexis pulls public credit and court data from Illinois and Florida if needed. Give me an hour. Send SSN if you have it, but name and DOB should do. We sent the basics. Amanda, born 1985, divorced 2022 in Cook County. Sophie typed notes. Pacer will have the divorce file. If there was asset dispute, details will be there. While we waited, we went to the bank. The young teller checked IDs and took us downstairs. The silver key fit perfectly. Inside, the thick original trust folder and Grandpa's handwritten letter. If John tries to force me, this is proof. I trust you too. Sophie clutched the papers like treasure. He was ready. Now it's our turn to strike. My phone buzzed. Jessica, excited like she'd hit the lottery. Okay, girls, buckle up. Amanda's 2022 Cook County divorce. X was a stockbroker. Settlement outside court. She got $2.1 million cash plus $500K annual child support. No major debt listed. Decree says no financial disputes. I frowned. So why the sob story? Wait, I went deeper. True People Search and been verified. Free public tools pulling credit headers and court dockets. Amanda has two 2023 collections. Amex suing for $45K overdue and IRS penalty for unreported investment income. Cross-checked with Credit Karma, her public profile on LinkedIn, score tanked from 750 to 520 in 18 months. What investment? She doesn't work. Jessica laughed. Not investment, gambling. I used Gambling Tracker, a free forensic tool that scrapes public data from platforms like DraftKings and FanDuel. In the U.S., online gambling is a billion-dollar industry. Vegas in your pocket. Federal law requires reporting big wins/losses, and if linked to bank accounts, it leaves footprints. Amanda opened a DraftKings account 2021, linked to her Chase checking. Cumulative net loss 2022 present $1.8 million, mostly NFL bets and virtual slots. One night, she dropped $50K on the Super Bowl. I went cold. American culture, where Las Vegas is the symbol of getting rich quick, but also the graveyard of families. Apps like DraftKings advertise nonstop on TV, promising win big with one tap. But really, it's addiction. Amanda wasn't a victim. She was a gambling addict, and now she was using us as her next loan. Jess, hard proth, statements? Emailing now. Divorce decree lists initial assets. LexisNexis has public credit reports. She's been taking payday apps like Cash App to cover gambling debt. And the kicker? 2024 DraftKings locked her account for suspicious activity. Code for losing too much, signs of addiction. I even found she attended 2 Gamblers Anonymous meetings in Chicago and ghosted. Sophie typing furiously, so the $2 million from the divorce went straight into virtual slot machines. She's not broke because her ex left her. She's broke because she's sick. Jessica, be careful. If you need court-ready evidence, I can produce a full forensic report. Stay safe, girls. We hung up and looked at each other. I started planning. We confront this afternoon, not at the house. Text Mom to meet at a coffee shop. This evidence will wake Dad up. Sophie nodded. And if not, we have lawyers. Grandpa was right. This is the black hole. Amanda isn't just greedy, she's desperate. We walked out clutching the folder and Jessica's email like weapons. The Chicago wind whipped down the street, but we weren't cold anymore. We were burning with rage and ready to tear Amanda's mask off. Friday afternoon, Chicago gray and drizzling like it wanted to wash away the fake holiday cheer. Sophie and I stood at my parents' front door in Evanston, arms full of printouts of Jessica's email. I texted Mom to meet at a coffee shop, but she'd insisted, "Come inside, everyone's here, let's talk it out." I knew it was a trap. Amanda had been there since morning, and Dad wanted to preserve family harmony. The door opened. Mom stood there, eyes puffy, still wearing her apron like she'd been stress cleaning the kitchen. She hugged me hard, then Sophie, whispering, "I'm so sorry. I didn't sleep." Amanda lounged at the kitchen island, hoodie and Starbucks cup, pretending to scroll. Dad stood by the fireplace, hands in pockets, wearing his family mediator face. "Emily, Sophie, come in," Dad said gently but firmly. "Let's talk like adults." Sophie dropped the thick stack of papers on the granite island with a thud. "Fine, like adults, starting with this." I opened the folder and flipped to the color printout. DraftKings loss summary, red bars screaming, total net loss 2022 to 2024, $1,847,221. Amanda walked away from her 2022 divorce with $2.1 million, I said, calm like I was presenting a design in a boardroom. Now it's gone, all of it, into online slots and NFL bets. Public data from Pacer and Lexus, not rumors. Amanda laughed, but it cracked. "You photoshopped this, Emily? I don't gamble. This is harassment." Sophie slid the iPad across, open to gambling tracker, username Amanda H. Miller 85, profile pic her in Vegas 2021. Not Photoshop. Public data anyone with $9.99 a month can pull. You even got banned from DraftKings for losing too much. Mom picked up a page, hands shaking. She stared at the numbers, then at Amanda, tears welling. "Mandy, is this true?" Amanda shot up, shrill. "Aunt Mary, don't listen to them. They've hated me since high school. This is revenge." Dad stayed calm, but I saw his knuckles go white on the chair arm. "Amanda, answer the question. Did the $2 million disappear?" Amanda switched tactics instantly, tears flowing, voice breaking. I played a little to cope with stress. Being a single mom is hard, you know that, but not that much, just a few thousand." "A few thousand?" $1,847,221 exact. Mom started sobbing for real. She collapsed into a chair, covering her face. "Oh, God, I thought you were struggling because he left you. I thought—" Then she whispered, loud enough for the whole kitchen to hear, "Amanda is so much like Katie." The kitchen went dead. Katie. The name almost never spoken in our house anymore. Mom's youngest sister, born 1980, died 2003 in a car wreck at 23. Blonde, blue-eyed, infectious smile, and a secret gambling problem in college. Mom never got over it. Amanda, with the same hair and smile, had walked into Mom's life exactly when she needed a Katie replacement. "She's just like Katie was," Mom repeated, tears falling to the floor. "She calls me Mommy, sends flowers on Mother's Day, posts the kids with captions about family. You girls, you're so busy, you hardly call." Sophie knelt beside Mom, voice gentle but firm. "Mom, we love you, but love doesn't mean letting someone exploit your grief." Dad finally spoke, voice hoarse. "If this is true, this is serious." Amanda saw the tide turning and went full Oscar-worthy. She dropped to her knees, clutching Mom's legs like a soap opera. "Aunt Mary, I messed up. I'll get help. I just need one last chance. For the kids." Mom sobbed harder, hugging Amanda. Dad looked at us, exhausted. We need time as a family. Amanda has mental health issues. We can't throw her out on the street. Let's calm down for family harmony. My blood boiled. Family harmony? You're choosing to protect a liar over your own daughters? Dad sighed, resolute. Emily, Sophie, go home. Give us time to think. Don't blow this up. This is still our house, not a courtroom. Amanda peeked over Mom's shoulder, the tiniest victorious smirk. Sophie gathered the papers, grabbed my hand. Fine, Dad. We'll give you time, but time is running out. Outside, Sophie finally cried. Mom's still choosing Amanda because she's the ghost of the sister she lost. I hugged her, watching the red brick house disappear in the drizzle. It's not over. We have proof, lawyers, and Grandpa. Next time we meet, it won't be in the kitchen. I started the car. Headlights cut through the rain. The war had only just begun, and this time we weren't playing nice. Monday the following week, Chicago steel gray, wind off the lake strong enough to rattle the old oak branches against my parents' windows. Sophie and I were in my West Loop apartment, laptop split-screening 4 feeds from the Ring cameras Grandpa Henry had installed himself in 2021. He never trusted the security company. Cameras in the hallway, living room, and crucially, his bedroom. 3:14 p.m. The bedroom feed moved. Amanda walked in wearing a fake nurse's scrub top, carrying a tray. She closed the door, but the overhead camera still saw everything. She tipped 2 ambient CR tablets, the strong kind, into Grandpa's orange juice. Grandpa sat in his armchair reading the Chicago Tribune, eyes sharp but body frail after days of tension. Amanda smiled sweetly and handed him the glass. He took 1 sip, then slumped forward. Sophie's grip on my arm turned my skin white. She's drugging him! 3:25 p.m. Amanda left the room, locking it from the outside with a new smart August lock. She'd installed it that morning. Hallway cam caught her on the phone. Dr. Evans, Mr. Henry's very tired today, sleeping all the time. Can you stop by and sign the dementia certification? I'll pay the rush fee. I called Grandpa. No answer. Called Mrs. Garcia, the Mexican housekeeper who'd worked for the family 18 years and whom Grandpa treated like a daughter. She texted back instantly, voice shaking in broken English. Señoritas, esa loca changed all the locks. She gave pills to Señor Henry. He sleeps all day. She won't let me in his room. Ayuda, por favor. She sent a shaky phone video. Amanda blocking Grandpa's door, scheduling Dr. Evans, the family doctor my dad had paid for years. Sophie jumped up, eyes wild. She's trying to turn him into a vegetable so the doctor signs incapacity papers. If that signature happens, Dad becomes sole trustee and signs everything over to her. I pulled up the Ring app, rewound 48 hours, crystal clear. Amanda changed every smart lock at 2 a.m. Sunday while my parents were at church. She spiked Grandpa's orange juice, milk, even herbal tea 3 times a day. Grandpa tried to stand twice, collapsed, slurring, eyes glassy. Every clip time-stamped, 4K, cloud-stored, bulletproof under Illinois law. I called the lawyer we'd hired the day before, Rachel Cohen, Chicago elder abuse specialist who'd crushed a nursing home chain in Naperville. She listened, then said 1 sentence. That's felony poisoning of a vulnerable adult, 720 ILCS 5/12-4.4. Send the videos encrypted. I'll file for emergency guardianship within 24 hours. But we couldn't wait 24 hours. 8 p.m. that night, Sophie and I drove to Evanston, rain pounding, water flooding Lakeshore Drive. We parked 2 blocks away, hoods up, circled to the back. Mrs. Garcia had left the service door cracked as planned. She hugged us, crying. El Señor Henry no come, no habla. Esa mujer says he has bad Alzheimer's. Yo tengo miedo. We crept upstairs. Grandpa's door now had the new August lock. Sophie pulled an AirTag we'd slipped into Amanda's purse days earlier. She never noticed. I opened Find My, connected to the lock's Bluetooth, and in 30 seconds the door clicked open. A security flaw only tech people know about. We rushed in. Grandpa lay in bed, eyes half open, mumbling. On the nightstand, an ambient CR bottle prescribed to Amanda, not him. I checked his pulse with my Apple Watch, 52 BPM, dangerously low. Sophie sobbed, cradling him. "Grandpa, it's us." He forced his eyes open, rasping, "Amanda, drugs, call, lawyer." I recorded everything, the pill bottle, his condition, the new lock. Mrs. Garcia stood witness. 11 p.m. We wheeled Grandpa out the back door, Mrs. Garcia with us. He was in a wheelchair, wrapped in blankets, but lucid enough to whisper, "Take me to Northwestern. I'm not letting them win." On the way, I called 911, reporting suspected elder poisoning. Evanston police and an ambulance met us at the ER. Blood work, zolpidem levels triple the safe dose. Police took statements. I handed over the full ring footage. They nodded. Felony elder abuse. We'll have a warrant by morning. As Grandpa was wheeled into the ER, he grabbed our hands, eyes fierce even through the drugs. Now, fight, girls. Fight hard. Outside, the rain still poured. But this time, we weren't the victims anymore. We were the storm coming. That Wednesday, Chicago bitter cold, temps below 20 F, snow piling thick on Lakeshore Drive. Grandpa Henry had been moved from ICU to a regular room at Northwestern. Blood clean, but doctors said he needed at least a week to fully recover. Evanston PD had opened a felony elder abuse/endangerment case on Amanda Harper Miller. Warrant pending judge signature. Amanda was still free because my parents refused to cooperate and insisted it was a family misunderstanding. We weren't waiting for the police anymore. Sophie and I turned my West Loop apartment into a war room. Dining table buried under papers, 3 27-inch monitors, laptops, iPads. Jessica in New York sent another bomb at 2 a.m. Amanda worked in Florida 2021-2022 as executrix for her late aunt Margaret Alvarez in Naples, $1.4 million cash plus house. 3 cousins were supposed to split equally. Result, money vanished into crypto investments Amanda managed. They're currently suing her in Collier County probate court. Pulled the entire file online from Florida system. Attached. Sophie read it, eyes blazing. She's not just a gambling addict, she's a serial fraudster. I called Rachel Cohen, our lawyer, 48-year-old Jewish Chicago bulldog famous in elder law circles. Friday, they're signing the new trust at the Lutheran Church in Evanston, right? Perfect. We're going to give them a ceremony they'll never forget. Rachel explained, Dad had turned the trust update into a public event to look generous, invited the pastor, notary, church friends as witnesses to the beautiful Harper family generosity. Scheduled for 11 a.m. Friday at St. Matthew Lutheran's Fellowship Hall. Rachel grinned over Zoom. They want an audience? We'll give them an audience. And a finale. Thursday night, Sophie did something only an elementary teacher who teaches coding dares. She hacked Amanda's Gmail. Not movie-style hacking, just legal social engineering. Sophie created a near-identical pastor email, 1 extra dot, sent Amanda a urgent schedule update with a fake confirmation link. Amanda, panicking, clicked. 8 seconds later, Sophie had full credentials. Email from Amanda to Dad. Sign fast. I need the money before Christmas to cover DraftKings debt. Email to Dr. Evans. Sign the dementia paper ASAP, bumping thank you to $15K. And best, Friday 11 a.m. church appointment with attached trust amendment transferring everything to Amanda Harper Miller and descendants. Rachel saw it and cackled, intent to defraud evidence. We prepped like for battle. Rachel filed emergency temporary guardianship for Grandpa at Cook County, approved in 4 hours thanks to video and talkscreen. Jessica finalized a 42-page forensic report, every dollar from divorce, gambling, Florida fraud, current debt. Sophie printed 30 bound copies in red covers, exactly like Grandpa's folder. I contacted Mrs. Garcia. She'd be a live witness at the ceremony. Friday, 10:45 a.m. Snow thick. Sophie and I stood outside St. Matthew in black coats and beanies. Rachel pulled up in her black BMW, dragging a Samsonite full of weapons, files, mini projector, iPad preloaded with the drugging video. Inside, Pastor Danielson had begun. Today we witnessed the beautiful generosity of the Harper family. Amanda sat center, black-dressed demure, fake tears. My parents flanked her, tense but smiling for friends. 11:03 a.m. The fellowship hall doors burst open. Rachel strode in first, fur coat, heels clicking. Sophie and I followed, carrying the red folders. Rachel's voice boomed. "Pardon the interruption. Rachel Cohen, counsel for Henry Harper and lawful heirs Emily and Sophia Harper. We have an emergency court order halting all Harper Family Trust transactions." The room froze. Amanda shot up. "What are you doing here? This is private." Rachel smiled, opened the suitcase, held up the order. "Not private anymore. And this ceremony is about to become evidence in charges of fraud, elder abuse, and attempted estate theft." I stepped forward, voice ice. "Let's begin." The projector lit up. The Ring video of Amanda drugging Grandpa played to chapel silence. The generous ceremony had just become Judgment Day, and we hadn't even started talking yet. 11:07 a.m. Friday, St. Matthew Lutheran, Evanston. The old oak doors still echoed as Rachel set the mini projector on the altar table. Pastor Danielson stood frozen, Bible in hand. 15 guests, my parents' friends, church members, sat like statues. Amanda, center stage in her modest black dress, face ghost white, but still trying the grieving single mom smile. Rachel hit play. The Ring footage filled the screen. Amanda pouring Ambien into Grandpa's juice, timestamp clear. Her whispered, "Drink this, Grandpa, helps you sleep," filled the hall. Gasps. Mom buried her face, sobbing. I stepped to the front, voice calm but carrying. "This isn't a charity ceremony. This is a planned fraud. Drugging an elder, faking incapacity, stealing an estate. And here's the perpetrator." Sophie advanced the slide. Jessica's 42-page report. Gambling loss charts in screaming red. Florida probate fraud. Money trail from $2.1 million divorce settlement to $1.8 million in online bets, credit card debt, stealing from a dead aunt's estate. Amanda screamed, standing, "It's all fake! They've hated me forever!" Rachel held the court order overhead. Cook County, signed 9 a.m. today. Henry Harper's temporary guardians are now Emily and Sophia Harper. All trust transactions frozen indefinitely. And this, she raised another paper, arrest warrant for Amanda Harper Miller. Felony elder abuse and conspiracy to defraud. The doors opened again. 2 Evanston officers walked in, gloves on. One held up the warrant. "Amanda Harper Miller, you are under arrest for..." Amanda shrieked, bolted for the side door, but was blocked. She spun back, eyes crazed, screaming at my parents. "You promised! You said I'd have the money before Christmas. I needed to pay DraftKings. I can't stop!" Then she collapsed to the floor, hugging her knees, sobbing, makeup running. No more perfect single mom, just a desperate addict. Mom rushed forward, kneeling. "Mandy, why didn't you tell us?" Amanda looked up, mascara rivers. I tried. I went to GA, but I can't stop. Every loss, I think the next bet will win it back. I need money. So much money. Sophie, against every instinct, knelt too. She took Amanda's shaking, ice-cold hand. Amanda, Sophie said, voice cracking but steady, I don't forgive what you did to Grandpa and my family. But we were friends once. I know you weren't born this way. You need real help. If you voluntarily enter residential treatment, I'll testify for a reduced sentence. I'll drive you to Hazelden in Minnesota myself, but only if you choose it. Amanda stared at Sophie, tears blurring her eyes, and gave a tiny nod. Then the doors opened a third time. Grandpa Henvey rolled in, pushed by Mrs. Garcia. Black suit, red tie, hair combed like he was going to a wedding. He'd checked himself out of the hospital that morning and Ubered straight here. Everyone stood. He raised a hand, voice raspy but thundering. John. Dad stood frozen, ashen. You're fired. Trusteeship ends right now, in front of God and all your friends. The Harper Family Trust now belongs to Emily and Sophia. You and Mary get a monthly allowance. Enough to live, nothing more. Consider it a lesson. Dad opened his mouth. Nothing came out. For the first time in my life, I saw him cry, knees buckling. Grandpa looked at Amanda, weary but not angry. Little girl, I saw people like you in Atlantic City in 1960. They lost until they had nothing left but the shirt on their backs. Go get treatment. If Sophie says she'll help, I trust her, but never set foot in my house again. Amanda nodded, limp. Police gently cuffed her and let her out. Grandpa turned to Pastor Danielson, faint smile. Sorry for ruining the service, Pastor, but maybe today God wanted truth more than fake kindness. He looked at Sophie and me, eyes shining with pride. You did good, girls. The hall was silent a long time, snow still falling outside. Amen. And for the first time in days, I felt peace. Not because we won, but because justice had finally found its place in a little church in Evanston in the dead of a Chicago winter. Spring that year came early to Wisconsin. The snow melted fast, and the old Harper soybean fields were plowed and planted, rows of tender green under May sunshine. The 160-acre farm Grandpa bought with his veteran pay in 1947 now officially belonged to Sophie and me. Not because we were the only blood left, but because we were the only ones willing to sweat to keep it. Amanda pleaded to lesser charges in Cook County. Thanks to Sophie's testimony and a treatment program, she got probation, 18-month suspended sentence, 5-year supervised release, mandatory residential treatment at Hazelden Betty Ford in Minnesota. Her 3 kids now lived with a cousin in Arizona. Public school, no private driver, but at least they had a chance to grow up without watching Mom gamble every night. Amanda sent Sophie one handwritten letter from rehab. Thank you for not letting me die in my addiction. Sophie kept it in a drawer, never answered, never threw it away. My parents moved back into the Evanston house, but it was just a house now, not an empire. The final trust amendment was signed in March in front of a judge. Sole trustees Emily Rose Harper and Sophia Grace Harper. Mom and Dad received $8,000 monthly, comfortable suburban life, no Bentley, no weekly spa. Dad drove an old Subaru. Mom started growing flowers in the backyard for the first time in 30 years. Dad didn't speak to us for the first 3 months. Then, one Sunday, he drove up to the farm alone, carrying a box of donuts from Glazed and Infused, my college favorite. He stood on the porch, awkward as a scolded schoolboy. Dad, I said, not inviting him in yet. He looked down. I'm sorry. I let pride and old pain blind me. I thought helping Amanda was bringing Katie back. I was wrong. Sophie stepped out from the kitchen, Noah trailing with a football. She looked at him a long time, then opened the door. "Come in, but no more head of the table. You're just Grandpa now." Dad nodded, eyes red. We didn't hug, but he stayed for dinner. And after that, every Sunday he and Mom came up. No grand apologies, just quiet meals, then laughter. Then Noah yelling, "Grandpa," when Dad taught him to throw a spiral. Grandpa Henry moved to the farm permanently in April. We renovated the old farmhouse. Small elevator, accessible paths, but kept the pine smell and the stone fireplace. Every morning I wheeled him down to the little dock on Rush Lake, where he and Grandma used to fish for walleye in the 60s. He loved sitting there, watching the flat water, wind in the pines. One August evening, sunset painting the western sky blood red, I pushed him to the dock and spread a wool blanket over his knees. Sophie and Noah were roasting marshmallows in the backyard, laughter carrying on the breeze. He took my hand, thin, veined, but still warm. "Emily," he said, voice rough with age but steady, "you and Sophie did what I only dreamed of. You kept the land. You kept the family. Not by giving it away, by standing up." I smiled, eyes stinging. "You taught us." He looked across the lake, sunset glowing in his faded blue eyes. "In America, legacy isn't given, it's earned," he said slowly, each word carved. "I earned it with Normandy blood and Wisconsin sweat. You kept it with truth and courage. That's the real legacy." I just squeezed his hand tighter. Under the fiery Wisconsin sky, wind whispering through the old pines, I heard Noah laugh, Sophie calling us for supper, and Grandpa whisper one last time, like a final blessing, "You defended the fort." And for the first time in my life, I felt truly home. Not because we won the lawsuit, not because we were rich, but because we finally had a family, imperfect, honest, fair, and built by our own hands. That's the real American dream, and we earned it.